Okay, so what do I have to do? Why do I have to move the negative 5x to the left side?
Tell me why.
Because that's correct. Someone said move negative 5x to the left, meaning do this. Oops. Meaning I add 5x to both sides, and I get this, 2x squared. Also, always put it in descending order, right? 2x squared plus 5x minus 12 equals 0. Exactly. We need to, whenever we're going to solve a quadratic, we have to get it equal to 0. We have to get it equal to 0, always. And then once we have our quadratic equal to 0, there's a few ways, if you remember, there's a few ways to solve this. Do you guys remember how to solve a quadratic? We can use square roots if possible. And in this case, it's not possible because I have this middle term. If I just had this x squared and not this middle term, I could just divide it by 2, square root both sides, and I'm done. But we have that middle term, so we can't use square roots. Another way is to graph it, and the x-intercepts are your solutions, right? Because y equals 0, so that's x-intercepts. So if we graph it and just look at the x-intercepts, that's our answer. Do you guys remember the other ways to solve this? What are the other ways we can solve this? We can use square roots. In this case, we can't, but that is one option if we're doing quadratics, if we just have an x squared and we don't have an x term. So we can't use that here. We can graph it, and the x-intercepts are your solutions, right? We just look at where the x-intercepts are. Right, so let's do that. Actually, let's do that. So 2x squared plus 5x minus 12. 2x squared plus 5x minus 12. Nope. 2x squared plus 5x minus 12. So 2x squared plus 5x minus 12. There you go. And so our answers are, let's pop right there. 1.5 and negative 4. There you go. So we can graph it and look at the x-intercepts, and there's our answers. 1.5 is our x-intercept, and from negative 4 is our x-intercept. So there you go. So using this, we have x equals 1.5, x equals negative 4. Bam. Okay. But sometimes you're not able, like on the SBAC, you're not going to be able to use Desmos, right? Desmos is great. Woohoo, I got my answer. But you're not able to use this on SBAC. So what are some other ways we can do this? There's 3 other ways. I don't expect you to do all of them, but you should know all the 5 ways. So one way is use square roots if possible, right? That means if you have x squared by itself, like x squared equals something, you could just square root both sides. We can graph it, and the x-intercepts are my solutions. And what are the other 3 ways? Do you guys remember? What are the other 3 ways? Come on, guys. Dun, 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 dun. Hello? Hello? Is this thing? You're going to see a lot of questions about this on SBAC, guys, so you need to know this. That doesn't remind you of anything? Dun, 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 dun. There you go, the quadratic formula. This always works. This number's your A, this number's your B, and this number's your C. And then you just put into the quadratic formula, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Remember that? So the quadratic formula works for everything. Yes, we can use a quadratic formula. Ooh, nice. Someone in the chat said, complete the square. And that's a little more complicated, but yes, you can complete the square. Remember where we take out this piece, we don't look at this piece, and then we just look at this piece, but we can't have a number here, so it gets a little complicated, but we can complete the square. That's not the most efficient way. And then the last, ooh, yes, woohoo, someone said it, by factoring. Okay, by factoring. So I'm going to show you quadratic formula and factoring. We'll do complete the square later this week because I do want to look at that, but we'll do complete the square later this week. But let's do quadratic formula and factoring and see if we get the same numbers as we got here, and we should because it's the same graph. X equals 1.5 and x equals -4. So let's see. So let's use quadratic formula. So you are not able to use notes for the SBAC, but you are able to use a blank sheet of paper. And this is my recommendation whenever you take a big test. And I don't know if you've heard, but the Cal States, I don't know about the UCs yet, but I know the Cal States are looking at your SBAC scores in order to place you into classes. Because I don't know if you guys know, when you go to college, they have to place you. They have to know what your placement is for different classes, what level you are for English, for math, and all that stuff. And so they usually make you take a placement test. And they're going to be looking at SBAC scores. And if you do well in your English, your math, and your science, now that you have science, if you do well in those SBAC scores, then they're going to place you in your math and English classes and give you credit for other classes based on that score. Okay. So what my recommendation for whenever you have a test, you have a blank sheet of paper, write down as many formulas as you know on your paper. Not from books, it has to be from your mind, right? You can't look at other sources, that's cheating. But that's what I like to do. I like to just dump out all my formulas from my brain onto the paper, so that way when I get to that problem, it's already there. I don't have to try to recall it as it comes. I like to just, I do my formula dump. I don't know if that sounds right, but yeah, my formula dump right in the beginning, just right on top of the paper, all over the paper, just write it down, all the formulas I know. And this is one you should put. X equals -b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So x equals negative blank plus or minus the square root of blank squared minus 4 blank blank all over 2 blank. And so we know this is A, this is B, and this is C. So B goes right here, 5 and 5. A goes right here, oops, 2 and 2, and C goes right here, -12. Okay, and this plus or minus, remember, plus or minus means I get 2 answers when I square root, right? Remember, square root of 16 is 4 and -4. I get a plus or minus. This is where I get my 2 answers from. Okay, so let's solve this. Let's simplify this. So we get x equals, let's clean this up, -5 plus or minus the square root of 5 squared is 25. And then let's multiply these. What's -4 times 2? -4 times 2 is, good, -8. And -8 times -12 is positive. What's 8 times 12? Anybody? Come on, guys. You know your 8s. Come on. I can't be doing this all for you guys. You gotta participate too. Come on, guys. I'm multiplying. This is -4 times 2 is -8. -8 times -12 is. Come on, people. Can't be doing this myself. You guys got to know this. When you take SBAC in a couple weeks, you're gonna be like, oh, thank you, 96. Oops. 96 all over 2 times 2, which is 4. So now we can clean this up a little more. So we have -5 plus or minus the square root of, what's 25 plus 96? 121. 100 what? Hold on. 100.
21?
Yes, 121. All over 4. Oh, I like 121 because x equals -5 plus or minus, what's the square root of 121? 11. Yes. All over 4. And so now that it's all cleaned up, now that there's no more square roots or multiplying or anything, it's all cleaned up, we can now separate it. We have one answer, which is -5 plus 11 divided by 4, or -5 minus 11 over 4, right? That's what that plus or minus means. We're either adding the two numbers on the top in the numerator, or subtracting the two numbers. So let's see what we get. Negative 5 plus 11 is 6 over 4. And if I do 6 divided by 4, guess what I get? I get 1.5. So x equals 1.5. Or negative 5 minus 11 is negative 16. Negative 16 divided by 4 is negative 4. There you go. And that's the two answers we got before, right? So there you go. So we did it by graphing, which you can't use on SBAC because you can't use Desmos. So we did it by quadratic formula, and we got negative 1.5 and positive 1.5 and negative 4. X equals those two numbers. So I'll give you a minute to copy this, and then I'm going to show you how we do this by factoring. Those of you who forgot factoring. And thank you for those of you who helped me out in the chat. You guys woke up. Thank you. I appreciate it. I got 5 of you to help out. The rest of you, I hope you're paying attention because you are going to see this on the SBAC, and this SBAC score is following you to college. Especially now that they're not really looking at SAT and ACT. Those are optional now. You need every advantage you can take, right? It would be nice to take one. Just think about it. Your placement in your classes. Some of you are like, I don't care. What do I care about placement? You should care. Because when you get to college, just a little story. My son, he's at Cal State LA. He just started this last fall. He started as a sophomore. And the reason he started as a sophomore is because his AP classes, he got 5s on a bunch of AP exams. He took some college classes in high school, like you guys or some of you are doing, right? The ELAT classes. And his placement allowed him to skip some classes, right? He didn't take, he took the math placement and he was able to jump a couple of classes and not have to take the first 2. So placement means a lot. If you do really poorly on a placement test and you have to take the beginning class, that means that's 1, 2, or 3 extra classes you have to take. That's more money you have to pay. Right? If you can jump some classes by placement, by AP tests, by taking ELAT classes here in high school, that's a money saver. That's a huge money saver because if you are placed into a higher course, like let's say 101 is the first one, right? That's classic. 101, English 101. Well, if you place into English 105, guess what? You just skipped 3 classes, 101, 102, 103, and 104. You skipped 4 classes, right? And those are classes that cost money per unit, your tuition, all that stuff, books. So this stuff is important. Those of you are like, yeah, SBAC, who gives a damn? It matters. It matters. It follows you. So yes, you do have to know this stuff. And even if you don't do well on the SBAC, but you do take the placement exam, guess what's going to be on there? This kind of stuff. And if you can pass this kind of stuff, like if you do poorly on your placement, you might be put in Math 1 or Math 101, where it's fractions and adding and subtracting integers and stuff, and then take 102 and 103, 104. Why would you do that if you can just skip and maybe start your first year, or maybe halfway through your first year become a sophomore because you have enough units and you've jumped some classes? Just trying to help you out. All right, let's erase this and let's try factoring. Factoring. Oh, do I have the music? Remember? What do we use when we factor? Is this it? The X Factor. Right, remember? You guys remember that? Does it bring back memories? It brings back memories for me because that was back when my studio, I call this my studio, when my whole setup was down in the dining room. I don't know if you guys remember that. I've moved a few times this year in my house. I was in the garage to start off the year. But yeah, when I was in the dining room, we're like, how do you factor? You use the X Factor, right? Some of you are like, oh yeah, that's right. That was so dumb. right? You do this x and you put the b in the bottom, the b value, which is 5, and then you put the a times c in the top, which is 2 times negative 12, which is negative 24. Then you ask yourself, what two numbers add up to 5 but multiply to give you negative 24? Right? This little x thing is called the x factor. Right? And then these two numbers are going to make us split this middle term into two pieces. Right? Remember this factoring? So what two numbers add up? So add up to 5, but multiply to give you negative 24. Yeah, someone said I don't use as many special sound effects as I did before. No, I don't. I don't know why. I'm sorry. Dude. I was thinking maybe you guys were annoyed by my dumb sound effects. So I kind of pulled back a little bit. But if you want more sound effects, I mean, I'll bring back the sound effects like the X Factor. So what two numbers add up to 5, but multiply to give you negative 24? Come on, people. Come on. I need your help. Two numbers that add up to 5, right? They can be negative and positive. But when you multiply them, you get negative 24. And those are going to be your key numbers here. Those are going to be your key numbers. Yes, very good. It's negative 8 and, sorry, negative 3 and positive 8. So that means I'm going to split this middle one into negative 3x plus 8x, right? Those are the two numbers. Those two numbers tell me how to split this middle term. And it doesn't matter which one I put first. I can put the positive 8 first or the negative 3 first. And then I just drop these last two, 2x squared minus 12. And the reason I'm doing this equals 0. The reason I'm doing this is so I can factor by, does anyone remember? Factor by, when I have 4 terms here, you see I have 4 terms. I made this 3-term trinomial into 4 terms because I can factor, now that I have 4 terms, I can factor by, oh, nobody remembers. Unless you're all screaming at your computer right now. But there you go, factor by grouping. Factor by grouping, remember? Meaning, I factor this group, and then I factor this group, and I should see a common factor that I can take out to help me factor this. So let's first factor this group. What can I take out of there? There's nothing in the numbers that are common, so I can just take out an x. So if I take out an x, I'm going to have 2x and minus 3. And then for this group, what can I take out? Well, that doesn't have an x, so I can't take out an x. But what does 8 and 12 have in common? What can I divide both of those by? What can I factor out of an 8 and a 12? Come on, people. What can I divide 8 and 12 by? 4. Thank you. Thank you. A positive 4. Make sure you put that plus or minus right there. A positive 4. So if I take out a 4 from here, I'm left with 2x. If I take out a 4 from here, I'm left with minus 3. And that equals 0. That's exactly what I want. It's exactly what I want because if you notice, you know you did this right if this binomial and this binomial are the same. If those two binomials are not the same, you factored wrong. You did the X factor incorrect. And you have to go back up to here and try again. Or make sure that these numbers are correct. Okay, once you see that these two binomials are the same, you're good. So you're going to factor out these two and put it in the front, 2x minus 3. And then what's left over, the x and the plus 4, go in here, and that equals 0. So now the reason we did this is because now we have something times something equals 0. And whenever I have two somethings and I multiply them and I get 0, one of those somethings, or both, has to be 0. So that means 2x minus 3 can equal 0 to make this whole thing 0. Or x plus 4 can equal 0. And so let's solve. If I add 3 to both sides, wait, hold on. Yes, I add 3 to both sides, so I get 2x equals 3. Divide by 2, divide by 2. So x equals 3 over 2, but if you make that a decimal, that is 1.5. Or subtract 4, x equals -4. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It's the same as we got here and the same as we got here. Same answer. Okay. And completing the square is a little more complicated. We'll talk about that later this week, but those are the different ways to solve a quadratic. Make sure you first get it equal to 0. Okay. And then you can either graph it, use the quadratic formula, you can factor, you can even complete the square if you want to, but those are the ways to do it. Okay. You will definitely see a lot of questions on the SBAC in 2 weeks on that. We spent almost 2 months talking about this. And I know it was a long time ago. That's why I want to review it for our warm-ups. And so today, I'm not going to show you anything new. Here's what we're going to do today. There are 17 of you that still haven't done the classwork and homework. 17, right? This is week 2. It's actually week 12, but this is week 2 of the new quarter. You all started with A's before spring break. If you don't do the classwork and the homework, you're going to drop to a fail. Even if you just do one of them, you're going to drop to a fail because those are the only 2 assignments in this quarter so far. Tomorrow, we're going to start something new. Our warm-ups are going to be little reviews like this. Get ready for the SBAC, okay? So tomorrow, we're going to start talking about radicals and fractional exponents. So please, I'm going to give you the rest of the period, which is only 8 minutes, or the rest of the day to get in that classwork and then homework. There are 17 of you that didn't do it. I'm begging you. I don't want your grade to drop. How do you maintain an A in a class? You got to ask yourself, what do I have to do today to keep that A? And what you got to do is finish that classwork and homework. If you're having trouble, I'm going to put up those videos, right? They will be up from before spring break. It was just all the exponent rules. To go look at how we do that. And then please get this classwork and homework. And if you have any questions, please ask or talk to each other. Right? Do you guys still have that Discord that you guys created back in the beginning of the year? But please get that work done.